for a free Butcher Barbecue Grilling Addiction Rub. Who can name that song? Who can name that song for a free Butcher Barbecue Grilling Addiction Rub? Anybody? Anybody? Jeffrey Neal Maxwell in the house, monitoring the chat. What's up? What's up? Welcome to the show, Owl's Nest Barbecue Show. We are brought to you by, not that guy, this guy, Michelin Tires. Big rebate starts this week. And Butcher Barbecue for all your barbecue needs. Honey Rub, Grilling Addiction. Look at all that good stuff. Grilling. Have you tried the grilling oils yet? Man, the grilling oils are top notch. Injections, ready to go, already mixed. Get your own. And we're brought to you by Green Mountain Grills, available now at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply Store in Ottawa. The best pellet grill on the planet. It works. You push the button and it works every single time. And of course, again, by the Michelin LTX tire, because your loved ones deserve to ride on Michelin tires. Jeffrey Maxwell back in the studio, monitoring the chat. Everybody jump in there and say hi to Jeff. Share this, please. Please, please, please. Don't forget you can hear this. If you miss it tonight and you say, darn, I missed it tonight, you can always pick it up on the podcast. I post it right after the show. The podcast available on Skype, or not Skype. What's that one I'd subscribe to? I can't remember the name. What is that thing called? Anyway, Apple, iPod, iPad, whatever it's called. I'm not in the podcast world, as you can tell. Spotify is what I'm trying to think of. Anyway, anywhere you get iPod or anywhere you get podcasts, you can get it right there. They're great. You should listen. When you're working out, mowing the yard like I do, listen to podcasts. Don't forget, we're also brought to you by Backyard Smokers Barbecue, our broadcast partner. Wes Phillips and the gang tuning in. We appreciate them every Thursday night sharing it. Hope you enjoy it. And again, like I said, Jeff Maxwell back in the studio monitoring the chat room. We have got a real live barbecue talk show lined up for you tonight. We are going to talk barbecue. We're going to talk method. We're going to talk how we do it, how you can do it better. And I've got two experts with me right now. The cookout coach, Steve Dotson. Steve, wave to everybody. And from Dead Broke Barbecue, Jeff Rice, better known as Ricer, with the flippant tip of the hat, as all great celebrities do. How you doing? What's up, fellas?
Good.
Everybody good?
Not much.
Shake your head up and down. Say, we're doing good, Steve. We're doing good, Steve.
Doing great,
Good,
Steve.
man.
And now, Ricer, you just came off of a before I go there, we're going to be talking about ribs tonight. So if you're a rib guy like I am, you know, it's the summer food. Ribs are the summer, everybody's go-to food in the summertime. We're going to talk about pork ribs, spare ribs, and baby backs. And we're going to talk about beef ribs. And I'm real interested to see what Steve and Ricer have to say, because I haven't been very successful with beef ribs. I'm going to get some tips from those guys. And we're going to start that in just a second. But first, Ricer, tell me about the wine special you just got off the air doing. You know, you spend more time on the show than Regis and Kathy Lee.
Well, thanks. Yeah. No, I'm sponsored by a company called Wines Till Sold Out, and monthly I will go live on their Facebook page and just talk a little bit about barbecue and wine pairings. Basically, pretty simple. So I did a 10-minute live with them right before I came on here.
You know, with the popularity of barbecue, and it transcends every class out there. You know, beer drinkers, liquor drinkers, wine drinkers now. People on the back porch enjoying, you know, cooking barbecue, having a glass of wine, where we used to always think it was, you know, two fat guys sitting there watching a smoker drinking Pabst, up in West Virginia, somewhere godforsaken place like that. And but as our society is elevated, it's kind of brought barbecue with it, don't you think?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I mean, like when it comes to an adult beverage, in my opinion, you can drink whatever you like because it's going to go with barbecue. It doesn't matter if you're drinking bourbon, you're drinking beer, or you're
Hmm.
drinking wine. You just drink what you like, or drink Gatorade for heaven's sakes. But when it really comes to barbecue, in my opinion, it is spread throughout all the different types of people. I
Hmm.
mean, it's very popular, obviously.
I've always it's the great uniter. Go ahead, Steve Dotson.
It's interesting that you bring that up, Steve, because I was actually just thinking about the exact thing today. Of you talk about the origin of the barbecue in Kansas City, and it was terrible cuts of meat that you could get for super cheap, and then cover it
Hmm.
in a sauce, but it smelled delicious, and cooking it low and slow like that for long periods of time made it great. And that's how it started. But why wouldn't you take something that takes terrible cuts of meat and makes them fantastic, and evolve that to today, where Wagyu everything, Karabuta pork, Duroc pork. It just makes sense that you would eventually step that up the ladder and make great things
Yeah,
even better.
yeah, yeah. Improve on the bad stuff to make it the good stuff, and make it taste even better than it did just shortly. 15 years ago?
Hmm.
Nobody talked about Wagyu beef 15 years ago. It wasn't even on the radar. And then all of a sudden, boom! It's in everybody's competition trailer. It's in everybody's refrigerator. You're ordering it online from places like the Butcher Shop down in Florida that have a complete
Hmm.
line of Wagyu beef. It's incredible. It's incredible.
And camel.
They do have camel, and I bet you can even get steer heart.
Yeah.
Did you know that used to be the delicacy back in the trail days in Texas? They would slaughter the cow, throw the brisket away to get the heart.
Mm.
Is that not disgusting? Did you see that barbecue pitmasters episode when they made heart
No,
on
I
on
did not
the
see.
on smoked, the last hurrah for barbecue television?
Hmm.
They
I'll have
had
to
to
check that out.
prepare heart,
Oh,
and the guy that represents Shell spit it out.
That's right. Yep, that's right. And the guy from the Brad from the shed was all about it.
Yeah, and that now there's two ends of the spectrum right there. We won't go into that. We're going to talk about ribs. And Steve, I want to start with you because you are the competition guy right now because you got one coming up Friday and Saturday, and
Yes, sir.
you'll be doing ribs, chicken, and pork butt, I believe, right?
Just ribs and chicken this time.
Okay. So, but
There was people's choice, but COVID kind of killed
yeah.
that. So
So let's tell me which ones you're going to turn in, spares or baby backs, and go over the method that you're going to use. And don't leave any of your secrets behind because we got a ton of people watching and listening. Donnie Beckett, thanks for joining us. That's my friend over in Dunlap, Tennessee. They've got their notes ready and their pencils, and they're going to write these things down. So start us off, Steve.
so what I cook is spare ribs, and then in KCBS, that's the go-to rib. It's lower on the hog than the baby back is. It's right behind where the bacon is. So as you can imagine, it's a fattier cut than your baby back is, which comes off of that loin muscle. So it's just naturally leaner. So you get more room for error when you get more fat. You get more meat. It's just I like to compare it to people to like cooking a thin steak versus a thick steak. If you're
Mm-hmm.
cooking a thin steak, you got a small window to get that right before you dry that outside. So with the sparrows being thicker, just like that, you've got more of a window where you can mess up a little bit more of a margin, and it'll be overshadowed by how great the center of that large cut is.
That's a good analogy.
That's how I like to think about it. So when it comes to comp time, and Steve, I'm not going to lie to you, my ribs last year scored horrible in KCBS. You and I have talked about this before. It hurt my soul so bad because barbecue ribs are what brought me into live fire in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I couldn't will them to score better just crushed me. So we just put in a lot of work this offseason. So what's going to happen Saturday is I'm going to get up. I've got an injection made up. I'm actually a Cosmos Q team this year, so we're going to be pumping some Cosmos injection into these ribs. Now, you got to be careful when you're going to inject things, and if you don't know, the reason why is because if you're not careful, it'll almost cure it if you leave it for long enough, and it'll take something that adds moisture to muscles and just bind them up tighter than a rock. So,
I was going to say, Steve, injecting ribs is a very controversial subject in what we do. As like you say, some people are for it. Some people say don't do it. It takes away from it. And so you are an injector.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I did a lot of testing these past 3 months because I had the time. And you know what? I can cook a fantastic rib these days with no injection, but there's just a little bit of insurance with some injection. And what I do to try to minimize the negatives that can occur is I'll inject it roughly an hour before it goes onto the pit. So it doesn't really have a ton of time for those phosphates and whatnot to work on them. It's going to get a little bit of phosphate, so it's going to have a little better moisture retention. It's going to get a little bit of a specific flavor I'm going for in there, which is mainly Cosmos pork injection.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and rub it down after that. And I like to use a couple different rubs.
What do you use for a binder, or do you just let the moisture off the injection be it?
So that's a great question. I used to be a hardcore mustard binder guy, but here's kind of where I'm at on that. And this is just a theory right now, and it flies in the face of a lot of things that are proven winners, like peanut oil. But mustard has some oil in it. Peanut oil is another good example. Ribs are a protein comprised of 90% water. Oil and water don't mix.
Right.
We put that binder down and we put rub on top of it. That rub will stick, but it's not going to perform any action on the meat. Now, depending on what you're doing, that could play for you or against you. But the way I like to do it is I just use the injection that's left over as sort of a binder. It's just wet. It's going to rehydrate those spices.
Right.
I'm going to put down 3 rubs. The first one is Cosmos Dirty Bird Hot, and that's a salt first rub. If you look at the ingredients, the first ingredient is salt, and the way those kind of things work, that's going to be the highest quantity of an ingredient in there. And I'm going to let that salt start to work on that meat almost like a dry brine. So I really want these rubs to touch and interact with that meat. We're going to go on with a little bit of regular Dirty Bird after that, and then some honey Killer Bee after that, all Cosmos products. It's just basic barbecue. I want it to taste like a barbecue potato chip, man. We're going for dead center, just classic barbecue. We don't want to offend anybody. We want it to just taste great. And that's all I'm going to do.
Sounds like you're really going after a sweet and savory profile on that.
That's
a heavy one.
Exactly. I just a little bit of heat, but man, I love candy ribs. People say you can't eat competition ribs. I can crush some competition ribs. So I love it sweet. So we're going to go with that. I fire my cooker up. I'm a big hickory guy with some cherry just because you can throw more cherry on there to give more smoke. Whereas hickory, I don't feel comfortable in my charcoal smoker, which is what I use for competitions. I like to go 1 part hickory in my smoke to 2 parts cherry. I get them on there at 275. They're going to rock and roll for 2 hours. And that number can change depending on your cooker, Steve, but all I'm looking for is I want a dark mahogany color. Like, I want to make sure when I wrap these up, and I'm going to wrap them up, that as much of that bark as I can retain, I will. So, not dark brown, but dark red. There is a difference, and if you cook long enough, you'll get to see that.
So what now? Are you cooking to a temperature, Steve, or are you cooking to a color, or are you cooking to a bend test before you wrap?
Before I wrap, it's all about color.
Okay.
I'd like to see a little bit of pullback, but really I can take or leave pullback. That's real subjective depending on what cooker you're cooking on. And my new cooker that's finally going to debut this Saturday, she doesn't pull back a ton. I find that cookers that move more air, like your offsets, will pull back like crazy. Or the can guys that are moving a ton of air, they'll get crazy pullback. But mine doesn't. That's okay. There's some things you can do about that. But when we get that color, we're going to wrap it up. And to make it easy, all I do to wrap it up is I use Heath Riles butter bath.
Right.
You do comps enough, you want to minimize everything you take. So it's mixed up in the fridge right now. It's in a bottle. I'm going to take it and just follow his instructions on the package. It's a proven product. Makes my life easier.
What do you mix yours with?
Apple juice.
Okay. Now, what do you said with Heath Riles butter bath?
You are taking notes over there, Steve.
Well, I did. You mumbled a little bit, and I just wanted to make sure everybody got that.
I
Heath
apologize for
Ryle.
that.
Well, I carried it in my store. That's I wanted to make sure.
Oh, do you?
Yes, and it's a wonderful product, and I use it too in competition.
Hmm.
I use it at home. I use it on pork butts too. But go ahead.
Well, so once we get that wrapped up, it goes back on the cooker. And on my cooker at 275, it's sort of a direct heatish cooker. In roughly an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, I'm going to hit an internal temperature somewhere between 208 and 210. And I will literally put a thermometer in it. People will talk about, well, you feel it and wiggle it. I do want to feel it, but for me, that window of perfection that I've found these past few months lies in those few degrees. So when my alarm goes off that I've hit that number, I'm going to open up, I'm going to feel them. And I want to squeeze long ways on them. And I don't want it to feel like it's pushing back. I want to feel like I can just right through that rib.
Mm-hmm.
If it feels like it's going to come back, it's not done yet. And the key to that for me is because I'm going to rest these things. In an effort this year to make it the same process every time, they're getting put in a dry cooler. Once they hit that temperature and I'm happy with the feel, they're going to go in a cooler for 45 minutes to an hour. At that point, we'll pull them out. We'll hit them with some hot sauce. They'll go back on the cooker for maybe a minute. Let's slice them up and serve them. And that is
Hot sauce. I mean,
hot sauce.
hot sauce.
I'm sorry, hot temperature sauce. I want that stuff steaming when it goes on these ribs.
Okay.
Because it'll start to set up a little bit on its own if it's hot enough.
Mm-hmm.
It'll
Okay.
do two things.
So
What
what sauce are you using?
I really like. I'm just kidding. I'll tell everybody if they ask me anyway. So what I really like is you got to have some Blues Hog.
Mhm.
Yeah, Bill Arnold.
Absolutely.
He killed it with that one. So I use, let's call it 4 parts of Blues Hog Original, 1 part of Blues Hog Tennessee Red,
Mhm.
2 parts Cosmos Original Comp Sauce, and 2 parts Cosmos Sweet Apple Chipotle.
Wow. A real concoction. I've never heard that many. I've never heard
It
that
is.
many in a sauce.
Well, Steve, I've had a lot of time to play with sauces.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I didn't say it wouldn't work.
I'm not saying it will work, but it's
Yeah.
what we're going to try on Saturday.
Yeah, who knows? It's a crapshoot at best.
But I can tell you, with that process, I've produced ribs that don't fall off the bone.
Bingo.
But man, if you want them to, you just pull them right off the bone. The bone doesn't come out white. It's still a little bit moist, but I don't know. It's my best guess as to what, because I'll eat fall off the bone ribs all day, every day. So
Well, in
we're
the
trying to
backyard,
find
that's
that razor's
in
edge.
backyard. That's everybody wants them. Everybody thinks.
Exactly.
Everybody comes in the store. They'll say, "Hey, we made some ribs, Steve. Man, they were great. Fell off the bone, good." I say, that's great, But what we do, they can't fall off the bone because they're overcooked. They claim they're not really, but they.
I try to
we don't
explain
want
that
that
to people sometimes.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
weird.
catch a little bit of flack.
They look at you like you're
they-
crazy. Yeah.
They don't quite understand it's competition. So we're trying to show off a set of skills, right? Our mastery of live fire to make a piece of meat do a certain thing. And so to me, they don't get it, but what we're looking for is meat on a stick still, but it's going to eat like the best fall off the bone ribs that you've ever thought of. That's what I'm trying to make. I'm trying to make it stay on the stick so you still carry it around. You don't have to have a fork in a bowl. So it's that razor's edge to demonstrate that mastery. And once I explain that to people, they start to, okay, it makes a little more sense now.
That temperature guide you gave was a good tip. I'm a 210 guy on ribs, pork butt, and brisket. I think 210 is the magic number. A lot of people do, a lot of people don't. But or a lot of people cook to feel, they cook to color, they don't ever stick a thermometer in them. But for a rule of thumb, 210 is a safe temperature. It's going to get probably where you want to be. What about people at home, Steve? Kind of that might not have an instant read thermometer. Toothpick test. I'm sure you've done that. What are they looking for in that? If they're just using a toothpick.
test. Yeah, you can do the toothpick test if you'd like. What you're looking for is to feel almost. I like it to feel almost like it's going to go clear through that rib, no problem. When you pull it back out, if you see that rib start to come with it, you're not done yet.
Right.
What I think is actually a little bit easier than the toothpick test is if you've got heat gloves and nitrile gloves is what I recommend. But if you don't, even if you got a big old pair of those silicone gloves, get your hand underneath that rib and pick it up. And if you can, because people talk about using your grilling tongs to do the same thing with the bend test. I'm not a big fan of that. That scares me. I think I'm going to break them in half. But I like to actually get my hand in there because, for one thing, I've got more surface area to keep it safe, and I'll pick it up. And you want those edges to drag that foil if it's in there, or the grill, whatever it is. And I want to see about 2 or 3 big cracks start to show up. And at that point, you're probably good.
That's good. John Kuhn and Robbie Royal are in the chat room as we speak. And John Kuhn uttered some of the most famous words ever on a Barbecue Pitmaster episode. On the All-Stars episode, John Kuhn looked at Robbie Royal and said, if I had a bucket of water, I'd throw it on him. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was one of the greatest moments, and of course they're good friends. But it was one of the funniest moments on the smoked or the All-Star series. All right, Jeff Rice, the Ricer. Let's go with you now. I know you've cooked. You probably cooked more ribs than Steve and I together. Let's hear the Ricer recipe on ribs. That's quite an alliteration for you, so try to top that.
Well, yeah, that was quite the instructional thing there from Steve, and it was a good job. For our house, for around here, we like just a regular dry rib or a Memphis dry rib is typically what we're going to do. I do the candy ribs. I do all different types, but let's just kind of talk about no sauce because myself, I want a little spicier rib, and my wife likes a little spicier rib. But when we get into my kids, my boys, they don't really want it too, lip smack and spice, let's say. So what I'll do is just go ahead and make up a nice mopping sauce. I don't wrap them. I run them the whole time. So some apple juice and some, apple cider vinegar and a little bit of canola oil, and then whatever rubs that I'm using. Typically, a lot of times it's going to be Suckle Busters that I'll use. So I'll throw in a couple of their regular competition barbecue or their Gold Dust, barbecue, and throw some of that in there. And then just sit and about every half an hour, 45 minutes, I'll just mop them up. I run my ribs at 275, the cooker at that. I've always typically on most of the stuff that I cook, it's right around that 275 degrees. And I just sit and mop them, just go to town. And once, like Steve said, once you start getting, I always call them, ooh, these are starting to get really flexy, And when they start getting really flexy, then I know they're done. I mean, it's not that hard, but typically for a time-wise, it's 4.5 hours, depending.
Yeah.
If I'm cooking in the middle of January up here in Wisconsin, well, guess what? It's 5-ish hours. But, like if I would cook tomorrow when it's going to be 80-something degrees, well, it's 4.5 hours. So a dry rub or a dry rib, we just like them. We call them eating ribs around here, to be honest with you, because you can put whatever you want on them. Now, if I'm going to do more of a sauced rib, then it's going to be, I'm addicted to the Suckle Busters finishing sauce. That stuff just gives you a beautiful color, and it's not too sweet and it's not too overpowering. So when I go into that realm, well, pretty much the same way as Steve. Except for sometimes in the wrap, I'll throw a little sauce in there too. I'll throw a little sauce in that wrap and just throw them in there. Now, I'm a backyard guy, so anybody that comes over to my house, they're thrilled to eat my ribs. If I went into competition, well, who knows? I'm going to have to get tricky and maybe start doing some injecting or something like that. I'll be honest with you, I have never one time injected a rib ever in my life, But I don't like the fall off the bone ribs. I'm not a fall off the bone rib type of person. I want that bite off. And if you watch some of my videos, you'll see I'm going to talk about it. Looks like a lollipop. And that's what I'm always striving for. You take a few bites and then you got meat on the bone. And that's how I like them. Yeah, I'm pissed if I end up getting sidetracked and I run those ribs a little long and it's like, oh, dang it. But hey, it's not a competition around this place. It's friends and family. So, but any good paprika type of rub that gives you that really good color on a dry rib is what I'm striving for. I mean, I like black pepper. My family likes black pepper. It's just when you start getting into the habanero and different things like that, that's where the boys are like, well, they're okay. I don't like them that spicy. So the dry rib is probably the good answer for a family with multiple heat levels, let's say.
I stand corrected real quick. It wasn't John Coon that said that to Robbie Royal. Of course, it was John's partner, Russ, that said that. John said that if Robbie beat him, he was going to be real ill. And of course, John Coon uttered another famous word on that same episode when he looked at the rack of baby back ribs that they gave him to cook. He looked at that rack of ribs and said, "I've got bigger pieces of meat than this in my teeth." And that was a good one, I thought. But Jeff, getting back to
Yeah.
your rib instruction, what
Yeah.
cooker do you like to use when you're doing ribs at the house when you're not doing videos? Okay, when it's just Jeff and the wife and children and maybe some friends coming over.
I'm not gonna lie to you, it's gonna be a pellet grill because there's really less, paying attention to it. Just set the timer for 40 minutes or whatever it is that I'm gonna be mopping them up and run out there. I'm gonna say that I would rather cook with a charcoal with some cherry and apple. That's kind of where we go with our ribs, and I'd rather do it that way. But man, I mean, I got two young boys that are, preteen. They're in every single thing ever. So when we're actually home and be able to cook, I don't want to stand in front of that cooker unless you're like
Yeah.
you say, "Hey, I'm making a video. So yeah, pellet grill. I mean, any brand, it doesn't matter. I mean, I enjoy the couple that I have, and I've cooked on Traegers and in different ones. But man, you just turn that thing on and let it run. The only thing is, a lot of them don't have that 275-degree cooking temperature on them. So then I have to run it at 250. And then when I maybe get a little later and I want to get eating, I'll turn it up to 300 and push it a little hotter than I typically want to. But I want those ribs done in about 4 hours, typically.
The way I do it, I
Yeah.
use the pit barrel cooker, and
It's a
I
machine.
use it every time I do ribs, whether at the house, at the store, or in a competition. I set mine. I said I use a fan control, temperature control device on the pit barrel, and I set it at 285, and I hang mine. And I am on a 3-hour schedule. On mine, I know in 3. I've done it so many times. I know in 3 hours that I'll have the ribs done. I hang them on the smoker, 285. Put the lid on it. At an hour and a half, I pull those ribs off. I don't even thermopin them. I barely even look at them, Steve. I'm not even looking for color that much. I put them down. I put them on the table on foil. I used to do the brown sugar, butter, honey, orange juice or apple juice thing, but now I use the Heath Riles mixture with apple juice. It's just a great product, and I'm gonna tell you something, Steve. I think it tastes better. I really do. I think it tastes better.
It definitely goes away from that tradition because that brown sugar butter tiger sauce, Johnny Trigg classic has. I mean, it's brown sugar in your face.
Yeah.
Where the Heath Riles butter bath, the brown sugar's there, but like you get a really rich butter taste to me.
What I do, I take mine and I wrap them in foil and I wrap them tight. I set them to the side, move the pit barrel from hanging to the grates, and I'll put them in there and I'll stack them. If I got a bunch of them, I'll stack them on top of each other. And then after about 20, 30 minutes, I'll rotate them. But I'll just cook them for another hour and a half, 3 hours total. And the whole time I'm looking, I don't even spritz them when they're on the pit barrel cooker. I'm looking for time and temperature. And I'm monitoring the temperature with a big old thermometer I added on that cooker. And I want that thing, and that thing will hold a 285 like your oven in your kitchen. It's an amazing product. And when I wrap those things, and after another hour and a half, I pull them off, and I swear they have never failed to be perfect. as far as temperature, feel. 210, it's on the money. 208 to 211 in that range every single time. I'll take them, let them rest a little bit. Then I take them out of the foil, put them on the thing, put them on the prep table on a cookie riser thing, and I'll put the Suckle Busters finishing rub sauce, the real thin one that makes them look like just the color in it is beautiful. And Ricer, I think we use the same one. And
yeah, we do.
and at a contest, the color is perfect for the judges to look at for good appearance scores. And in your neighborhood backyard cook, when you present those to your friends, they look at them and go, the wife will look at the husband, man, yours don't look like this, and that's what you're getting, and that's what I call the backyard competition. Every time you make barbecue, it's a competition, and you know it. It's a competition with a neighbor, or it's a competition with yourself, trying to better the last cook you did. But I'll return those. I don't know if you guys do this. I'll put that sauce on it, and then I turn it back onto the grill, and I set that sauce, and I let it get tacky. And sometimes it'll be 8 or 9 minutes at 285. And when that sauce gets tacky, I pull it off, and I get just a pinch of cayenne pepper right over the top. And then we slice them, and we put them in the box, or put them on the platter and serve them to our friends. And every single time they're perfect.
Run that sauce for 15 minutes sometime. Just put it on there and run it for 15 minutes and see what happens. That's how I usually do it.
And let it set for 15 minutes?
Yeah, let it set for 15 minutes. Try that. Because, it's, I don't know, it's amazing when I use it that way. So
that Suckle Buster sauce is, I don't know what it is about that stuff, but it has got every flavor profile. I mean, it's a if you're looking for the one bite bang, that's it. At least that's it for me. And it does well in the backyard. It does well at competitions, and if you're at home, write it down. You ought to try it. We have it at the store. You can come in and buy it. You can buy it online if you're not here in Ooltewah or the Chattanooga area. But it is a good finishing sauce, and that's that's what it's all about. Of course, the taste. But Jeff, do you ever just, when y'all eat the ribs, do y'all ever like forego the sauce and just eat the meat with the pepper and salt on it?
Yeah, that's where I was talking about just doing the mopping.
Yeah.
And doing the dry rib. Yeah, we do it a lot, and I'll pour. I have a bad habit of really liking vinegar sauce. A lot.
I do too.
Where I like that better, and so I'll pour a little vinegar sauce on the plate, and sometimes I don't even rub that rib through it. I don't even skid it through it a little bit. I'm like, dang it, why did I even pour this out? Because I really like just a regular dry rib with added, with good seasonings, whatever you want to use, whatever your favorite is, and you load it up, and then just sit there and keep it moist until it's done. I still think that's my favorite pork rib, and it doesn't matter if it's a baby back or a St. Louis. I'm not a big spares type of guy. When I do spares, I'll end up cutting those riblets off and throw it over on the side and cook them up and snack on them or something. But I'm typically, St. Louis cut first, then baby back. Mm-hmm. But, if I'm having a bunch of friends over, I'm going to do baby backs just because I have a pit barrel. I have a little Bronco. You can get 9 to 12 racks of ribs in that thing. Yeah. I have never had a big problem with like wrapping them when there's less than six and less, and then wrapping them and putting them back in the can. But the problem that I have when I cook a lot of them, I'll run them all the way straight through. Have you done much of that? Because that's where I think is amazing, when you just run them straight through. Now you got to double hook them, because in one of my videos, I have what I say, man down, because that was pretty funny. I had a rib fall in the charcoal basket, but in all reality, I think that's a really good rib when you don't even wrap them. It's amazing. I mean, they don't maybe get quite as tender as a person wants because they will start breaking
Mhm.
away from the bone, but you should try that sometime. I
You know,
don't know if you
I have
have.
never cooked a rib without wrapping it.
Okay.
I've just never crossed my mind to do that because I was just taught, to wrap, and
Hmm.
because I was not a cook before I went to, before now you got to remember before I got interested in barbecue, I was not a cook, so I knew nothing about anything. I knew how to, I knew how to,
We were all there, buddy. We were
I
all
knew how to
there,
add, I knew how to add milk to the Carnation Instant Breakfast. That was about as far as I got, and so when I went to a barbecue class in school rather, and when they wrapped, I just always wrap. But
Hmm.
it'd be easy to try that. A a lot of places in restaurants they put them on the smoker and they finish them off on the grill. You know, Famous
Yeah.
Dave's does that here in Chattanooga when he was open. You know,
Just double hook them. Just double hook them.
if
The
you're hanging
words
them.
of wisdom. Yeah, if you're hanging them. Yeah,
Hey,
just
Bryce,
double hook.
you missed the perfect opportunity to make the caveman rib video. I mean,
Yeah,
caveman steak was all the rage for a while.
yeah, right.
Caveman ribs.
hey,
Yeah, maybe I'll have to try that
Steve, how
sometime.
do you
Yeah,
pick out a rib? First of all, go over if when you're buying spares, do you buy them already trimmed, or do you like to buy them full and then you do the trimming and then share it with everybody how you pick out a rib?
I generally like to buy the St. Louis cut, like Ricer said. This week I actually trimmed up 5 racks because I cook 4 for competition, and then Sunday I'm going live over on the Chargriller page, and we're gonna do an all-day rib cook. So I went ahead and trimmed up 5, and right now in my area it's still a little bit dicey trying to get good ribs. So 3 of those were St. Louis cuts, 2 were full spares I had to cut down, and I don't really have a problem with cutting down full spares, but I don't usually cook rib tips very often. They're great when you cook them, but between competitions and YouTube videos, I'm not cooking a whole lot, just sitting out throwing logs because I feel like it. I'm
Yeah.
usually on some sort of schedule. So if I do cook full spares, I usually take the tips, cut them down, vacuum seal them, and then give them off to somebody else who's going to cook them. So for that reason, I like to go ahead and just purchase St. Louis because
Yeah.
it might cost a little bit more because the butcher cut them down, but it's also costing a little less because I'm not paying for 12 pounds worth of
Any
2 racks
special
of
brand
ribs.
you like to look for?
You know, I when I can find them, and I've been guilty of actually ordering them just because they're really nice and pretty affordable. Is the Allegiance Duroc brand?
Mm-hmm.
They've got that crazy Duroc marbling, but they don't cost as much as say Comparts
Mhm.
or Creekstones but yeah, Allegiance. I think they're out of Iowa. Some of their farms, but they're beautiful ribs and they're usually pretty affordable. But if I can't get that, I run my local grocery store here is a Food Lion, and they have uh, their own organic brand, which
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure I called them and asked them. It looks like that's packaged by the parent company for a brand called Hatfield, which is common up here in the northeast, like Pennsylvania area.
Mm-hmm.
But I've cooked Smithfields, and IBPs are usually great. IBPs are usually my pick if I have it. If not, Smithfields or those Hatfields are usually what I go with, just because that's what's in my area.
All right, if you're going to the Jeff, I'm going to throw this one to you. And
Sure.
you're going to the store and you're doing a cook for I don't know 20, 15 people, friends.
Sure.
And you go to Sam's. Do you have Sam's up there or Costco or?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Both of them.
And I'm sure you go to Sam's. And what are you going to look for on the ribs? You're going to look for a real lean one. You're going to look for a real fatty one, or tell me.
Well, I'm actually like I'm looking for a little bit more fat a little bit more fat in that St. Louis. It doesn't have to be as much, but for sure, like on a loin, I'm looking for more fat.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take much to dry out a baby back. So, but I'm really looking for the straight bones as much as possible. But when you buy a 3-pack, you're stuck because that middle one, I guarantee you, there's something wrong with that middle one. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's like every dang time I buy one of them, the middle one sucks. So, but in all reality, I don't want too much fat. I mean, but you know what I mean? If you look at it and you see some decent marbling, but it's not overpowering. Not like one end is just a big fat glob. because I'm going to trim that off. But St. Louis is just going to have more fat, plain and simple. The one thing I was going to say about when he's sending his riblets away, man, that goes really good in pork and beans, man.
I was just thinking that. Isn't that a pork and bean thing?
Yeah.
Mine don't even make it to the plastic bag. If I have to trim, I just throw it away.
Okay, well,
it's disgusting looking. Ugh.
I mean, you pick away at them, they're all right, But I mean, like my thing, that's why I don't buy a bunch of spares, to be honest with you, because I'm not in competition, so I'm not worried about trimming it and having it perfect, So I'm typically just gonna buy St. Louis. Yeah, I'm paying a little bit more, but I don't have to sit here and trim anything up or freezer, throw it in the freezer, and all that type of stuff, So I don't really typically throw any food away because my videos and when I'm cooking for my family, so it's gonna go to the family, I got
my family
boys.
family doesn't eat barbecue. They won't eat anything I cook anyway. It's brutal. It's brutal. Steve, Keith Bevington wants to know where you order the Alliance brand from.
Kevin at the butcher shop. Pensacola, Florida is the answer for everything in barbecue, I think.
Yep.
If Kevin doesn't have it, it ain't worth it.
There you go, Keith. Butcher barbecue or what is it? Say it again, Steve.
The butcher shop.
The butcher shop. Yeah.
Yep.
In Florida. And I've ordered a few things from them. It's a unique place. It's a unique experience ordering from the butcher shop. You have to call it in.
I'll tell you what, Steve. If Kevin could somehow work a deal where shipping didn't kill you, I think I'd order from there weekly.
I know. Shipping kills everybody. And we were talking about that last night. I mean, it's everything we buy, everything we do, shipping just, sometimes that's the deal breaker. And the thing is too, when they ship meat, the packaging that it arrives in is, I mean, those coolers are better than some of the coolers I use. I mean, seriously. I mean, they're good. They're great for like taking to the shop. And if you have a customer you're doing a butt for or a couple butts, I keep them in those styrofoams and I'll wrap them up and I'll put them in the styrofoam for the people. And they work better than any cooler that I've got. They're just like, I mean, they'll keep things hot for days or cold for days. It's incredible. It's incredible. All right, when you're picking out baby backs, what are you looking for, Steve? Anything special? Because baby backs, there's not a whole lot that's different that differentiates one from another. I don't think.
Yeah, no, Ricer pretty much hit it. I'm looking for as much marbling as I can get, and I also want to make sure that they did a good job butchering it, and they're not selling me just the loin sitting on top of all this, because you'll get sometimes that just look like a tomahawk pork chop, and I mean that's cool, I guess. If I bought that, I'd literally cut it into tomahawks, because if I try to cook it like a rib, that loin is just going to dry out like crazy. So then my head starts working like, well, this is a conspiracy because it's per pound, and they're just trying to give you more per pound, but then it doesn't really work out. Anyways, I try to make sure there's not a ton of loin meat on there because I'm buying these for the ribs.
Yeah. Have you ever talked to those guys back in the butcher shop? There's no conspiracy going on. They got their earbuds in. They're listening to Judas Priest, and they're just bam, bam, bam. They're not thinking about a conspiracy. They're just cutting meat, rocking out. All right. Our assignment, the second part of our assignment, and do not let me go before Steve, you tell people what you're doing this weekend, because you're doing something super cool this weekend, and everybody will want to tune in. All right, our assignment for the night was your favorite bread. And when I asked the fellas last night to do this, you thought Ricer. When I asked Ricer, you would have thought I said, "Bring me back the broom from the Wicked Witch of the West." It was really a roadblock setup. Of course, Steve welcomed it with all. He said, "All comers, here we go." So what I want to do, I'm going to start with you, Jeff, and the favorite bread that you use to complement your barbecue or any other events at the Rice household up in Wisconsin.
Well, when you get into, and I told you I couldn't remember, but it's like, um, it's Rhodes. They have dinner rolls. They have Texas style or just
Mm-hmm.
plain ones, and it's RHODES. You can get them at my grocery store in the frozen section, and we put them in just a regular, casserole pan.
Mm-hmm.
Let them rise, and then you throw some butter on top of them and throw them in there and cook them up. And spray a little, little vegetable or canola oil on it on
Mm-hmm.
top of them a little bit so the cellophane doesn't stick. And then as they get done, they start getting that, light brown. Throw a little
Yeah.
bit of butter on top of them, and man almighty. But as far as bread,
That's
when you
bread.
say bread, yeah, I know, but I'm saying when you talked about like, I mean, like
Bread.
French bread, give me French bread and I'll eat it. So it's something that's crispy and is going to hurt my roof of my mouth. Yeah, I might be Norwegian. This is a funny story because I wanted some French baguettes one time up at our grocery store, and I had to have them special ordered because we have a lot of Norwegians around here, and the owner told me, well, I don't order any of that stuff because it hurts the roof of the Norwegian's mouth. So I mean, maybe it's just not a big deal for Norwegians.
So when the
Give us
Norwegians,
some
so when the
kudos.
Norwegians came over, were those the Vikings? Were the
Yeah,
Norwegians the
we're
Vikings?
Vikings.
Are y'all the
Yeah,
Vikings?
yeah,
So y'all
yeah,
are the ones that discovered America, really.
yeah,
Y'all,
pretty much.
y'all probably.
I'm later in that. My great grandparents and all that came across the pond in the 1800s.
Mhm.
So late
But I'm talking
1800s.
about back before, 1492. I'm talking about before that. I mean, wasn't it the Vikings? They say found America
Oh
first.
yeah, yeah, of
And that
course.
funny little boat that
All
looked,
that
and that funny little boat with the thing on the front.
All that
Yeah.
about some bread,
Yeah.
right?
all that looting and pillaging, and they could have gone down to just some crusty bread.
Yeah, right.
That's why they left. There's no bread here.
Yeah,
What kind of place
exactly.
is this? All right, Steve Dotson. In the Dotson household, the bread of
In the
choice
Dotson
is.
household, if we want some bread to go along with anything, the answer is a 30-cent box of Jiffy cornbread.
Oh, you're
Mm.
getting close.
Box of cornbread, one egg, a little bit of milk. It's delicious.
Isn't it good?
I'll make it and just eat it by myself. Is like, throw
Oh
some
yeah.
jelly on it or some butter, or whatever. My wife ridicules me for throwing jelly on it.
I
Whatever.
like that
That's the
little,
life I
and I like
chose.
that little sweet taste that it has too. That is,
Absolutely.
I don't know how they do that, but it's, when all you got to do is throw water and an egg in it. Or no, you use milk in that one, don't you? Don't
Yeah.
you? Yeah, use milk in that one.
Yep.
Well, the reason I did this, I just discovered this about 3 months ago, and my house has gone crazy for it, and I even introduced it at work, and it's become sort of a tradition at the gas station. If you can imagine a biscuit being a popular item for the guys at the gas station, it's this right here. The Red Lobster. Do you have Red Lobsters in Wisconsin?
Oh gosh. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yes, of
Have you
course.
have you had those things?
The cheddars, yeah,
Yes.
heck yeah,
Have
heck
you
yeah.
had those
You
things?
buy you can buy those packs at Aldi's. We
Yeah,
make
that
them
pack
every
right
once in
there.
a
I
while.
picked it
Yeah,
up at Publix, but you can order them off
yeah.
Amazon too. It's where I got the last ones. And here they are. I made y'all some, so you don't get this on others. You don't get this on other barbecue shows. There they are right there for you guys. I whipped up a batch today. Um, you cook them. You just add water and sharp cheddar to them. You mix it up, and it gets real sticky, almost like drywall paste.
Mm.
And just daub you. And what I like about them, you just have to daub it out of the spoon. There's no rhyme nor reason to the design that you make. And you put them on the pan, a greased pan, and you cook them for 15 minutes. And then they give you that little pack of garlic, and then you melt a stick of butter or half a stick of butter, whatever it is, with the garlic. But it's never enough because I can get about 12 rolls, and after the 10th one, you're digging at that bowl. You're digging at that bowl to try to get two more swatches on the brisket. So I always go about 3/4 of a stick, and I use Heath Riles garlic butter rub. I put in there with it, and then that stretches it all the way to all 12. and I mean it's perfect. You can't even tell that Heath Riles garlic rub is almost identical to the flavoring that they give you in the Red Lobster. What are they called? Cheddar Bay biscuit mix. It's almost or the of course you have to put the cheddar in it, but the seasoning is almost just like Heath Riles. That's why I wanted you to see. You and I, Steve, were thinking on the same path. The mix. And Jeff, we had to bring you in. We had to, trying to bring you in. You're on a different you're on a different flavor profile, but that's okay. With the hard bread, I like the hard bread too. But the down here in the South, the biscuits rule. I mean, they just rule. And that's our favorite biscuit right now.
There's a reason why when you go to Cracker Barrel, they ask you cornbread or biscuits.
Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine getting a choice? Like, oh my gosh, cornbread or biscuits? Can I have both? And they go, yeah, you can have both. You go, God, this is great. What else can I have? Thick bacon or thin bacon? You can have both. Wow. The hits just keep coming. Let's see, what was the other one? I made another one. It's a real famous one. I can't think of it. Oh, what was it? You had to have an egg with it. Oh, it was good. But I'll think of it. I'll think of it a little bit later. But fellas, I really appreciate you joining me tonight and going over this rib thing. Steve, tell everybody that's watching and listening what you've got coming up this Saturday, and tell me, give us just a little bit of history of what you've been doing, and tell everybody who you're the ambassador for, because this is really an interesting project.
Right. So folks that are unfamiliar with me or my YouTube channel, COOKOUT Coach, I am a char griller product ambassador and have been we're in our second year of working together. And recently, with everybody being at home, we started doing some live cooks over on the Char Griller Facebook page. It's me and one of the other ambassadors named Mark Ashby. And so far, we've done steak and we've done chicken wings. And they were asking us for ideas for the next cook. And they said, it'd be interesting to do a long cook, but we don't know exactly how to do that. So I said, well, how about we try ribs and we talk through it. And what we're going to do is this Sunday at 11:30, we're going to go live on Char Griller's Facebook page.
Eastern Standard Time.
We're going to start
Eastern
Standard
Time. Okay.
Yes, sir. We're going to start cooking ribs. I know I'm going to be cooking spares. Mark may be cooking baby backs. And I'm not sure what cooker he's cooking on. I'm going to be cooking it on the Char Griller Competition Pro offset cooker. It's going to be relaxing. I'm going to throw sticks all day. I'm going to make a real simple backyard rib. On this offset, it takes me about 4 hours to do them, and I like an hour to rest. So the idea is you come over, you get your ribs, you get your cooker ready, you come over to the Char Griller Facebook page, you start at 11:30 with us and hang out. We're going to cook ribs together, and then by dinner time, you'll have ribs ready to go.
So it's kind of like a bunch of guys virtually sitting around the smoker.
Yep.
I love it.
What we're going to be doing is every hour, we're going to check in for 15 to 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If you've had questions in that hour, we'll go ahead and answer those too, as well as give you an update as to what we're doing, what the ribs are looking like, just helping you through it.
That sounds great. Jeff Rice, tell us about Dead Broke Barbecue, and all of the people that you are one of the go-to guys in the barbecue world for people that are trying to get the word out. And tell us a little bit about this wine relationship that you have that's just very, very interesting.
Well, it's Wine Till Sold Out, Wine's Till Sold Out, or WTSO.com. You go over there, and if you use my promo code, BBQ20, you can save yourself $10 on any purchase of $50 or more. They have all different types of shopping methods. You got your weekly tasting, you got your last minute type of thing, and then you got your premium brands. So, yeah, I mean, they'll deliver it right to your door. They got free shipping options and all the different things like that also. So, good place if you don't want to head to the liquor store, or if you're looking. I mean, like, I got a couple bottles of Chablis off from there, which I cannot find in my area. I can't just go to a liquor store and find a bottle of Chablis. So, yeah, you can find just about anything you want.
And tell us a little bit about Dead Broke Barbecue and all the videos that you do.
Well, I mean, I have a little. I'm here to help you enhance and amplify your backyard barbecue fun. I'm having fun when I'm cooking in the
Hmm.
backyard, and there's going to always be something added to the video that's going to be probably entertaining. And I just cook. I mean, I just try to teach because like when I started this 25 years ago, as far as my like cooking for myself, because I had to feed myself, I didn't have the internets or anything like that. I mean, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I never bought a cookbook that explained anything. So everything was kind of trial and error. My dad used to cook pork, so we
Hmm.
did a rotisserie pork and stuff like that, low and slow type of things. But I didn't have any real background in any of other types of meats. So I just kind of learned it the hard way. So my channel is just really about the people that are coming in, they want to learn a little bit and have fun and see some pretty decent food. I mean, I don't call myself a pit master or anything like that, but if you invite me over and you supply all the supplies, hey, we're gonna have a party. We're gonna have a party. So,
And
but
and
yeah, I do just about anything.
and with several examples of different cookers too. That's always
Yeah,
the
right.
fun part. That's real quick, go over some of the things that you're cooking on, the different vessels that you've got at your disposal to cook on.
Well, I mean, everybody has a Weber, but I have a
Hmm.
Weber, and then I have Oklahoma Joe's a Ryder DLX pellet grill.
Hmm.
I have a Bronco, their little drum smoker. I've got a pit barrel, and I have a pit boss right now. And I've cooked on a friend's Traeger a few
Hmm.
times, just fun. That's what actually got me in a year ago. I've only been cooking on pellet grills for a year. It's always been charcoal and deal with it.
Yeah.
I like drums. I'm a drum kind of cooker,
Hmm.
but I don't have an ugly drum anymore or anything like that. And I do like offsets. I just don't have an offset anymore. So, but I do that, and then always get a few rubs sent to me. So if I like it, I'll put it in a video.
Hmm.
I've got Butcher Barbecue. I like a lot of David's rubs, and Uncle Steve's shake and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
also obviously Suckle Busters. But yeah, I just kind of throw different things out there for people to see, and I always have some type of gadget or something like that also.
Steve Dotson, the cookout coach. You can find him on YouTube. He does great videos. Jeff Ricer from Dead Broke Barbecue. You can find him on YouTube. Both of them very popular on that medium and very professional, to say the least. Fellas, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Steve Dotson, good luck tomorrow, or good luck this weekend.
Yeah, thank you very
Bring
much.
home. I hope your name is called last in every category. I hope they wait till last to cook out the cookout to call out the cookout coach Steve Dotson.
All right.
All right,
That's
and
the goal.
Ricer,
We're
thank you so
gonna try
much.
for first and first.
That's right, Ricer. Thank you so much for
You
joining us.
betcha,
It's
Steve.
always a pleasure. You're a prince, and we sure appreciate it. We'll see you guys. We'll talk to you this week. All right, take
All
care.
right, sounds good. Thank you.
Well, two great guys. I tell you what, Jeff Rice and Steve Dotson from YouTube. Check them out. Check them out, fellas. They're really good. Everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Everyone, Jeff Maxwell, thanks for the great job that you do in the chat room. Thank you, everybody that tuned in. We really appreciate it. Next week, I just want to let everybody know we have got a super special show next week. Matt Frampton, America's pizza expert, will be live on the Owl's Nest Barbecue Show. He will be at his research and development facility live showing you how to do pizza. I will be with my friends at the Owl's Nest Barbecue Supply Store live with my Green Mountain Grill with the pizza adapter, copying Matt, doing what Matt says, trying it on mine. It's going to be a pizza night, dual live expositions, so to say, next Thursday night, right here on the Owl's Nest Barbecue Show. You won't want to miss that one. It's going to be a good one. And everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Backyard Smokers Barbecue, for sharing this broadcast with everyone. And as always, we'll see you next Thursday. And from the studios of the Owl's Nest Barbecue Show, I bid you good night and good luck.